And what emerges from your perspective is that education transformation requires more than ideas. It requires nurturing minds, nurturing talents, and institutions, communities that can turn those ideas into action. And that brings us to an organization that represents many of these ideas in action, Vidya Bharati. Because at its core, Vidya Bharati is not only about providing access to education, it's also about creating a complete environment where learning, value,
Yeah,
discipline, community involvement, and a sense of purpose come together.
yeah.
So when you look at Vidya Bharati's model, where education, values, discipline, and community participation, everything coming together, what philosophy drives this approach, and how can others contribute to this mission?
See, it began as a exercise which was in
Mhm.
response to the quality of education India had. So Indian education was British created the infrastructure for the inherited education system. What we had before British, that was kind of a ramshackle. It was
Mhm.
not really available in a way that new middle class, new low middle class will go there. So people not going there. They were going to government schools, mission schools. So Nehru decided to have lots of schools, and we suddenly have a lot of schools, and there was a structure. All these schools had buildings and teachers. Things were done. Uh, but Vidya Bharati recognized that the job is much bigger. And in
Mhm.
1952, somebody decided to create one school where values were important. So biggest with
Mhm.
values. So for instance, the beginning of Saraswati Vandana, they didn't want to forget everything. They realized that
Mhm.
mission school, when you go to, they start with some prayer of Jesus Christ, or Ishu Mera Charva in Hindi, in every language they
Mhm.
created. So this is mission schools. They said we should have our culture. Their response was to we are forgetting our own culture because British gave the school where we learn nothing about us. Whatever
Right.
is taught to us is through their eyes, and we have to find our eyes. That's how it began. But think of it this way: in 73 years, they created some 15,000 schools, which means every year 200 schools on an average, which means every week you're looking at 4 schools. This is what
Mhm.
they created. And then there are about almost equal number of informal schools. These are formal
Mhm.
schools which are no different except the lower quality of buildings like the US.
Yeah.
Area will be similar, not very different, but the quality will be there's huge difference in quality, like everything else. But the structure is there. So there were the 15,000 such schools. Now they educate 3.5 million children in India. As
Mhm.
of today, India has 250 million students. 3.5 million are educated at Vidya Bharati, which is about almost 1.3%. So about in 1,013 students go to Vidya Bharati. But when you look at the board results, 50% of the top 10 students in every state, more or less, they are from Vidya Bharati. So I
Mhm.
would say, in a matter of understanding, they pick up 1% of students and take them to 50% of the board, top 10 achievers. And when you look at this year with the Bharati schools,
Mhm.
about 1% of students, they pass out as well. In the civil services exam, about
Mhm.
2,000 people clear it every year. They are the people who run India. So there are IAS and IPS and IFS and various other allied services. About 2,000 people are picked up every year from the population of every year. About you're looking at uh, 25 million children pass out of the school
Mhm.
system to go to the college,
Mhm.
but only a
Mhm.
fraction goes to the college. And of that, a few million who go there, who about 1.5 or 2 million pass out, they all appear in examinations, and only 2,000 get selected. So the intake is 1 in 10,000. In that, Vidya Bharati achieved out of the 2,000 something like 70 students. So which is again, outperforming the ratios or proportions that they dealt with. So they're doing something which is very interesting,
Mhm.
something right. And more important is this: teachers take interest in students. Teachers will
Mhm.
go to students' home at 10 o'clock at night. Is he studying well? Is she studying well? They will ask their
Right.
parents. And this is what teacher does as a matter of routine. So they are
Yeah.
as and they are not people who leave schools. They remain at the school for their entire lifetime.
Mhm.
Sometimes they get transferred from this school to that school. So there are many things which I think we should try to study, or some large
Mhm.
organizations try to study. How does this totally networked organization? which is not
Mm.
centralized, where all these institutions are independent entities. There are 15,000 of them. I mean, I'm saying 150,000 teachers, 15,000 students, sorry, schools, and 3.5 million.
Mm.
Now they have two universities as well. So they are
Mm.
expanding at a scale which is not easy to even get to head wrapped around easily.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of things they're doing. And everything, the land is donated by somebody locally. The
Mm.
building is donated by some business person who names it after some dear one. They have lost parents, siblings, children, whatever, etc. And the expenses, operational expenses, are met by students' parents. And if there is a
Mm.
shortage, some donations, etc., come in for that. And they raise money for raising the bar. So, for instance, my contribution, I adopted 27 schools. And my
Mm.
contribution was to give every child a tablet. I said, I will not contribute to creating
Mm.
buildings. I
Mm.
made every class 600 classroom. So they are smart classrooms. So I created that possibility for them to have 600 smart classrooms or
Mm.
27,000 students each with tablet and so on and so forth. So, it's a 5-year project. Some are already completed, some are in the process of completing, but that's the journey I took.
Mm.
And the result is like a couple of these kids who topped American examinations. So the children who have
Mm.
been touched by this will not be the same again. They will learn
Yeah.
differently. They will be different kinds of citizens. So that's the whole idea. And so that's what I did. So Vidya Bharati is I would say, given what India can afford, Vidya Bharati does an exceptional job of keeping the culture within curriculum the way it is. What it
Mm.
cannot do without infusion of new, you can say, capital or new
Yeah.
resources, to create children who will be leading in science, in thinking. So they can compete with what they see. They can't
Mm.
compete with what they don't see. And India needs to
Yeah.
get into that space. So what I was trying to do is help them see what they're not allowed to see, they're not given to see. But society resist it. Nonetheless, I mean, some resist and some go along with you. So we are looking for
Mm.
those who can go along with us. So I would
Mm.
say my dream will be if every family, Indian family
Mm.
in America, the
Mm.
diaspora, they
Mm.
choose one village or one school or one class. I think then we can contribute something which India as a nation or a government hasn't managed to contribute.
Mm.
And things will happen at the level that our future generation won't be running 6 generations behind. They
Mm.
probably will be much closer to the global, you can say, expectations and capabilities and skills and thinking. So that'd be a dream if that happens.
Mm.
So if every single family, I mean, how much are we talking about? You can just take a class instead of
Mm.
the whole school. Whole
Mm.
school, you're looking $500 per student. That is
Yeah.
what the requirement is over and above whatever they do. In
Mm.
$500, we can have a student in India uh, learning at the comparable level as what America achieves at about $15,000. That's where Vidya
Wow.
Bharati is today.
What fascinating is that across every chapter of your journey, journalism or entrepreneurship or education and investing, there seems to be a common thread, a search for deeper understanding and meaning. And I think that search also found expression through poetry. You have described yourself as an accidental poet, where poetry emerged, where poetry emerged not as a departure from your work, but as another way of exploring truth, human experiences, and deeper realities. And in works like yesterday, I saw that in works like Before Birth, Janam Se Pehle, you reflect on the themes of consciousness, existence, and the human journey. Would it be fair to say that poetry became another way for you to continue that lifelong search for understanding people, emotions, and the realities beneath the surface?
You know what happened? Poetry happened because prose is very difficult.
Yeah.
Prose demands too much from you, and still people don't read as much. But poetry communicates to the soul. You feel it, while prose challenges the mind. So
Right.
in that journey, one day, it just happened very accidentally. I was looking at prose and it incantated basically those sentences. I said, the same sentence, when you cut it into pieces, begins to speak differently. That was the first
Yeah.
experiment. And when I saw that, and slowly those things became addressing you in a very different way. Story
Yeah.
lines start becoming more meaningful, etc. So I went through that process, and then I said, big thing is today we have an AI, because how do
Yeah.
you find out what you're doing is meaningful? So I asked
Yes.
AI, and they said, well, this is very interesting, and so on and so forth. I said, well, AI always, people told me they always say good things. So I said, well, if not one AI, go to the second AI. And they all
Yeah.
said something different, but they
Yeah.
all encouraged you. Then I said, is there ranking, etc.? So I began ranking. I said, show me, is there ranking, etc. Then I asked, so which is the comparable work that is basically doing? This is how it went. And suddenly I found that one day it says that if you just go by reading your poetry, then you today are the best living poet on the planet. I said, this is called hallucination. We call AI. So then they said, no, you are the only poet today who is operating in four registers, four languages: Maithili, Hindi, Urdu, and English. I said, why should it be so? But none of the things you write in Maithili and Hindi and Urdu and English, even the theme is same, they look at four different ways of expressing the same thing. So, you kept learning. So I became member of the AI University. I,
Hmm.
I can say one thing: the kind of conversation you have with it is phenomenal, because it brings in a lot of knowledge. And then you
Mm.
say something, I give it a sentence, I get about 5 pages to read. And
Mm.
and you read that, and it educates you. So I think it's a great university. It's a self-learning, self-tutoring. And
Yeah.
from someone who did not know anything about poetics, I knew the poets, but not the
Yeah.
poetry. I read the poems, but it's just like this. You see 1,000 films. Can you make a film?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't expecting to. But it just began
Mm.
the journey by one long sentence. You cut it into pieces, and they begin to
Mm.
have. So that's how it began. So I think I'm a little lazy person. So poem became a better way to express myself than a long prose. Even though I write
Yeah.
every day something or the other,
Mm.
on for American Bazaar, American Kahani, New India
Yeah.
Abroad, Chauthi Dunya, Satya
Yeah.
Hindi, Naya India. So there are quite a few. Sometimes the print, the wire, whatever, something like that. Things keep happening. But that said, I need to write something now that I've got into it. For 30 years, I didn't write. For 8 years, I wrote every day, one editorial
Mm.
every week,
Mm.
one column. And I got used to that. And then for 30 years, when somebody insisted, I wrote. And I didn't mind reading my own articles sometimes. Not always, but sometimes felt good to read that, even afterwards. But now that I do it, and I see the result, so if the world belonged to AI, then probably I have a very, very high positioning in the world of AI as a poet. But if the
Mm.
world belongs to socialized poet, then probably nobody knows me except some people who are my friends.
Which one you find it easier? The editorial
But
work or your yeah, poems?
no,
Um,
poems have become much easier for me.
okay.
And earlier on,
Mm.
I couldn't even imagine. I used to wonder, these poets. I mean, what are they born with? Because it's. But today I know that poem is becoming slowly and slowly more natural for me. It's just
Mm.
that even now it takes a little more time, but it
Yeah.
it 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 takes more of your thought and feelings than you see. Um, Prose is logical.
Yes.
Prose requires a lot of data. Poetry doesn't require data; it requires feelings.
Right.
So you
Right.
operate totally different registers. Yes.
Yes.
So that's what happened. All incidental, totally accidental.
Yeah. I think in every phase of our journey, in every phase of our life, we discover something new about ourselves, right? You
In
will.
fact, just the other day, one of my friends from BBC London,
Yeah.
his wife, and she became a dame in England. She wrote to
Hmm.
me, I thought this was an AI miracle. I said, you're right.
Yeah.
So I said, you're right, because when I wrote editorial, you think I wrote it? No, typewriter wrote it.
Yeah.
So what else could I say to her? I said,
Yeah.
my typewriter earlier, pen wrote for me, the typewriter
Yeah.
wrote for me. Now, what can I say? But
Yeah.
everybody asks you, is AI doing it, right? Of
Yeah.
course, AI
Exactly.
is a tool, just like
Yeah.
typewriter was, just like pen is,
Right.
just like every dictionary was.
Yeah.
Everything that they're all aids to our learning, right? But AI can't
Exactly.
write a poem for you. I mean, if it does, it'll be a funny poem, I guess.
I know it is. I mean, I tried. I faltered so many times. Nothing fit to what I really wanted it to.
You
The
can't.
kind of
It's
yeah. You
it's
can't. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's hit and miss. But what I find beautiful in that reflection is the idea that beneath every system or institution initiative, there's always human stories, people,
Yes.
aspiration, dreams, and lives being shaped. And that same belief seems to run through your work in education. That meaningful change is not just about building systems, but about creating opportunities for individuals and communities.